Ty, what's going on, man?
I'm doing good, man. I think there's a third one of us that should be coming in here. He could retweet it and like it, but
But not show his ass up on time.
but
Let's go through the comments. Brian Weber goes first. What's up, Brian? He goes, welcome everyone. Please remember to subscribe when Jay does what he does best and impress you. Please hit the thumbs up. Yeah, exactly. Hey, folks, like, comment, subscribe, and share to this channel. Help us, this helps us out a lot, folks. This is really going to be ramped up here during the football season, but we're going to make sure that we keep this alive until football season comes because we got a lot of good stuff happening, man. A lot of good stuff happening right now. James Trice says, congrats to Sharon Moore and his pending promotion to Michigan head coach. Yeah, James, we're going to talk about that today as well. And looky who comes in fashionably late. Look at him. Look at him.
Hey man, hey man, dude, daddy care, daddy daycare never ends, man.
I feel you, dude. I totally understand. Well, Chris, we're just kind of going over the topics. First one that we'll probably talk about, man, is going to be about Jim Harbaugh. That's going to kind of shake up the whole college landscape here. Possibly for the coaching staffs as well. Next one, man, Ty's going to be happy about this one. Ryan Williams commits to Alabama again. All right, so that's going to shake up a lot of things too. But let's go ahead and start with Jim Harbaugh, man. Jim Harbaugh is expected right now to take the job with the Chargers here, and that leaves a vacant job for the defending national champions at the University of Michigan. All signs point to possibly, Moore taking that job. He actually coached the team last year for 6 games, while Harbaugh was out, on this little suspension there. But Chris, go ahead and start this off, man. What do you think about Harbaugh retire? Well, just actually moving on to NFL.
Man, I don't know why his name was like literally on my mind. I was like, damn, but I kept forgetting it. But Justin Herbert, that's the first thing I think of. I'm like, hey man, this helps him tremendously. I'm like, if
Yeah.
anybody should be happy, it should be him because it's to me, it's the quality of QB coach or just a football mind that's going to be around you that's going to understand the game. Not to say that he hasn't had some coaches like that. I think he has some good coaches that were building some things that just weren't given all the time. Some of them were, some of them weren't. But the fact of the matter is, you have a guy that's capable and proven has a proven track record of building quarterbacks. But as far as the college ranks, man, I think that it's an interesting move that we have been waiting on. It's not a surprising move because we've been seeing it for the last 2 or 3 years. The NCAA has basically dared him to go. They double dog dared him, then they triple dog dared him to the point where he actually took a job. So, fact of the matter is, I think we all know that at some point, it was the inevitable. I mean, I think he's always been trying to get back to the NFL. It's just the fact that Michigan was probably, I wouldn't even say a dream job. I think it was, I guess you can say it's the same thing, but it's kind of like a bucket list thing, just checking it off, when it won a national championship, got that done. Now he's back in the league. So, excited for that. I'm excited for him, the opportunity. That's great. But man, just like what happened with Saban, now you're going to see some guys bounce, but Michigan was going to lose a lot regardless anyways. I think that's something that we got to keep in mind. And now who takes over that job? And if it is, who'd you just say before, Nick?
More.
Yeah, if it's more, then I mean, I think that keeps things together for now. But is that a dam that's waiting to break? Is that a dam that's waiting to bust? So I'll turn it over to Ty now to kind of get his thoughts.
Yep.
no, I think you're 100% right, Chris. I think that there's been some smoke about Brian Kelly. But if I'm Michigan, first off, I'm going to operate under the assumption that they're going to promote Sharon Moore. Nick, you hit the nail on the head when you talked about he's already been a head coach for Michigan. I mean, hell, he coached a lot this year, right? So you have the familiarity. But on top of that, whenever we look at Alabama, I think teams learn something. If you can help it at all, you want to have a succession plan in place, right? And I think Alabama has shown that right now with how much you saw teams kind of going after Alabama's roster when Saban retired. Promoting Sharon Moore, in my opinion, though there's no way for us to say definitively, I think that would keep a lot of roster movement at bay. Now, that being said, I also think we're in the modern era of college football, and it's easy for me to assume that there will be some level of roster movement, even if it's just three guys that wouldn't have portaled otherwise. It's going to be interesting to see. But Michigan, really, the conversation I want to have, guys, is this, and this is a question to both of you and everybody in chat. We're talking about Michigan, and no doubt that's the story here, but there's a secondary story that hasn't been talked about yet. Gentlemen, there was already a lot of pressure on one Ryan Day heading into this year.
Mm-hmm.
But for the love of all things holy, if they lose to Michigan one more time, when Jim Harbaugh leaves, he's done. I
Can
just don't see him lasting.
Ty, if you don't mind me interjecting real quick, can I
Please.
give you 13 million reasons why they shouldn't lose to Michigan? I mean, let's just be real. They went out there and they killed the bank. They scraped the pot clean. They said, "Hey, well, whoever's got money, whoever got something, if you got to stick a gun, give it to us. We got to give it all." Because they went above and beyond to do what they needed to do, and with the portal acquisitions as well. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you just got to say, look, it's either championship or bust for them, as Kobe Bryant would say, it's championship or nothing. This season was meaningless, you know. So for them, it's riding high on them. And if he were to lose that game again, I think people would. I don't even know if people would necessarily say it's the losing like 3 years on. What is it? 3 years now?
Four.
Four
It'd be
years.
four.
It will be
Yeah.
4 years in a row. I think
If
what
he
it would
loses
be
this
is
year,
just
it'd
the
be
fact.
four in a row.
Yeah, I think people would actually. I think this next year's game, honestly, is a legacy piece for him. Simply because,
It should be.
I mean, yeah, but you would think that the championship would be that though. Like the championship would be the pinnacle of what he's trying to accomplish. Not beating them. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Yeah.
that
It,
shouldn't be it. It should be winning a actual freaking national championship that they haven't won since Urban Meyer was there.
And my man got smoked the last time he was there.
yeah, that's true. But look here, though. This is one thing that I do want to say about Ryan Day, right? Now that the playoffs are open up to 12 teams, yes, it's nice to beat Michigan. But let's say he goes through the season and he's 11-0, gets to Michigan, loses to Michigan again. He's 11-1. He's a fifth ranked team in the country. He's still going to be in the playoffs, and he still has the opportunity to redeem himself. Because this year, and people could say like, look, uh, if they were the team to beat Michigan in that close game, then they would have probably been the odds-on favorite to win this. The way that everything just went about. But I do want to say, when it comes to the Ohio State, right? They got to beat Michigan this year, folks. Michigan doesn't have a quarterback. They lost their head coach. They're losing their starting running back. They're losing their starting wide receiver. They're losing some pieces on defense. So me and Ty, so we talked about this earlier. They are bringing back a nice piece of like both sides of the ball, like on lines, right? So their offensive line's looking still pretty stout. Defensive line too. But look, this is the year where if Ryan Day can't get it done with this talent, look, there's some questions that had to be asked about him. You know what I'm saying? There's some questions. But one other thing, man, I got to say this about Ryan Day. We all know that he's an offensive guy, offensive mind. Even though he lost to Michigan last year, I thought last year was a breakout coaching job for him because that team won a lot with defense. And so it showed us that him being an offensive minded guy was still able to, pin a game plan together from the defensive side of the ball to keep this team in a bunch of games this year.
I kind of disagree with that a little bit, not in the way that you think, but I'll say this right here is that it wasn't that Ryan Day wasn't trying. It was just the fact that his quarterback was limited.
That
I mean,
too.
let's just be real.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be real. The
Yeah.
offense was still there. They were still running stuff. It just didn't work. He couldn't get the ball to the guys. He couldn't do certain things. One of the best things I would say, look, we talk about Miami Twitter space. We talk about all the Florida Twitter spaces. That Ohio State Twitter space. There's an Ohio State specific one that people know what I'm talking about. At halftime, whew, Let me tell you something. Kyle McCord, boy, Jesus, Jesus. You say his name in there, boy. It was all types of words. It was very colorful. Let's just say the consensus
Colorful.
was this guy sucks. He can't throw. He can't do any of this stuff. So it was a lot. It was a lot. So I mean, I don't know. Will Howard is no better, but do we get the Will Howard that caught lightning in a bottle against OSU and ran amok, or do we get the Will Howard that we've seen this year and the years before? So I think it'll be really interesting.
And it's not like Kansas State has put together bad offenses, right?
No,
Like it's not like we
Yeah.
can even just say, "Oh, Will Howard came from Iowa, where they're offensively inept," and we don't know. That's a good question.
Ty. Now, Ty. Now you're a little bit involved in what's about to happen, but I just got to kind of put the onus on Nick because
What's up?
you know what Texas fans did to y'all last year as far as ramping up for this game, the second game of the season against y'all, how Kieran and everybody else in the Texas faithful talked all this noise about, well, they're not the same team. They're not going to do this. We're going to run amok. And this, I can't wait for it to start about Michigan now because they weren't saying nothing about Michigan, but now they will, now that they feel like they're a weak team. I'm sure that that's going to happen.
Who?
Isn't that right?
Who? We
Y'all go
weren't
to
saying
Michigan. Y'all go to Ann Arbor the second
no,
game
no,
of the
I
season,
understand that,
man.
but we weren't saying that Bama wasn't the same team.
Oh gosh. Don't do
I was
that.
just no. Texas fans were saying we got a good shot to win this game, just like the previous year we had a great shot to win that game.
Nah.
You know, and I think Texas fans were a little realistic this year and said Bryce Young's not walking back through that door, and we got an even better shot to win the game this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
Returning a
guarantee.
quarterback, there was a lot of turnover at Alabama.
Yeah,
Offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, new.
Hey, don't do that.
quarterback.
Don't do that, Ty. You know. We talked about a lot of
I'm
the
just
little trash that was being talked. I can't wait for it because we already know off-season champ U is about to come. I'm just getting that
get
out.
out of
We
here.
already know off-season champ U is about to come. We already
Look
know all
here.
the hype is coming. We already know.
Look here. I
This
want to
is
talk about this comment here from Stephen G. And I talked to this, yesterday, with Stephen about this. If I'm Sharon Moore, I'm not taking the job at Michigan. I'm not doing it. No, I'm not doing it. I'm gonna tell you why I'm not doing it.
Why?
Interesting.
I'm going to the NFL with Harbaugh. And my main reason for this is the simple fact that it's the same thing that you just said, Chris. Next year, that team is not going to be the same team. All right. They're not going to be the same team.
Yeah.
They might be an 8-4 team next year. They're losing a lot of talent, folks. They're losing a lot of talent. They don't know who their quarterback's going to be right now. Right. They're losing a ton of talent from the skill position players.
Mm-hmm.
They're losing a ton of talent, folks. Now, this guy's going to have to come and follow back up what Jim Harbaugh did there for 9 years, and he was getting killed for 9 years prior to him winning this championship this year. The amount of pressure that an alum got there, who was 142-40, I think, in his 9 or 10 seasons there. All right, so now you want this guy to follow up on the best season Michigan has had in ages, and he's supposed to just go in there and keep it moving with not the same quality of players. If I'm Sharon Moore, I'm telling Harbaugh, I'm coming with you. And my exact reason for this is they already know I can coach in college because I did it for 6 games while you were gone on this championship run. Now I'm coming to the NFL. I'm going to coach with you as your OC or being your staff somehow. And then when I think the right job opens up where the talent is there for me to succeed immediately, then I can go down and be one of the most coveted names because I was successful as your interim for half a season. And I have been successful coaching Justin Herbert here with the Chargers. And now I can be the guy for whatever college team I want.
The only way that he should turn down, the only way that he should leave is if he's going to be the OC and going to have control. If that's not the case, there's no way that you turn down the head coaching position at Michigan to take over that, to keep the success. You won games with a lot with some really good players. Don't get me wrong, you're gonna lose talent, but the thing is that you hear people talk about him being a really good recruiter. You hear people talking about him having everybody loves him there. The thing is, we'll see how much the administration loves him and see how long of a leash they give him. But I mean, to me, I think one thing that we do need to talk about with like Harbaugh is that it's the recency bias, and you know, just to be honest with you, a few years ago, Paul Feinbaum was saying the dude should be fired. Everybody's saying that he's not this and that, and the dude is churning out 10-win seasons like it's
Well,
nothing, but it's not good enough, you
but
know.
look, if it's not good enough
And
for
and on top of that, I think there is a legitimate there is legitimacy in making the statement that um Ryan Day had a little bit of the Lincoln Riley effect as far as his team started to progressively get worse on defense. I wouldn't say as bad as what it was at OU for a while, but I'm talking about just I don't think as far as what is the one thing I think that especially Michigan fans will tell you these Ohio State teams haven't been as physical as they've used to be. And so I don't think that he's had the benefit of that or whatnot. So I think he's caught Ryan Day kind of on the tail end of that. And you've seen Ryan Day try to take steps to fix that. So I mean, I don't know. I just think that overall, I think that Moore would be crazy not to take the head coaching position at Michigan. I mean, it's Michigan, man. You don't
so
turn down
Chris,
jobs like that. Those jobs don't come open all the time.
So, Chris, you just said right now that 2 years ago, Paul Feinbaum and them were on Jim Harbaugh's head after winning 10 and 11 games, trying to get him fired. What do you think is going to happen the first time Sharon Moore pulls up there with an 8-win season, and then backdoors with a 9-win season, and then the next season backdoors with another 8-win season? What do you think is going? What do you think they're going to do to him?
If
Jim Harbaugh is an alum there. That guy was a draft pick from there who came back, took teams to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Came back to his school, brought them back to greatness, something that they haven't seen in years.
Yeah.
And they wanted this man out after 3 or 4 years.
But to me, I'm just saying that for me, you know, with Moore, you have right now you have Michigan basically now in the palm of your hands because there's not a better hire out there. They're not going to go. I've seen crazier things. They may go get Urban. They could go get Urban. What are they going to do? Go get Jimbo? They're going to get Jeff Traylor? They're going to get coaches like that?
No. But a team like Michigan is in the same position as a team like LSU was when they picked Brian Kelly. They're in the same position as any team with a big brand. Michigan, Ohio State, LSU, these teams come open to have a lot of money and resources to them. If they want to go get somebody, they'll go get them and pay the buyouts. That's not a problem.
Wasn't there a rumor about Kelly if somebody left the job, wasn't it?
And it came from LSU. That's the crazy. It came from LSU media members that if Harbaugh was to jump to the NFL, watch Brian Kelly because they thought, based on people they had talked to, that he would be interested in that job.
Yeah. And he's from that region, man. I mean, he's.
I mean, that's the only sensible hire that you make outside of that. I don't think that they want to mess with any other coaches outside of that. But I think that this is the perfect opportunity to seize that job. But like I said, I'll turn it over to Ty.
No, I don't have much to add. I was actually really enjoying listening to that because I think you both made some really. I haven't given much thought to that though, Nino.
Yeah.
Like the optics of the situation. Because, listen, I'll be the first to eat crow, right? I'll step right up to the plate. The year where Michigan played Alabama in the Citrus Bowl, right? That's the first year I really started doing YouTube. I think it was even part-time at that point, right? But I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, this is an Alabama team that just lost Tua, right? You have so many questions. Jim Harbaugh, now's your best time to get that big win. And this is before he'd beaten Ohio State. Well, they got shellacked by Bama in the bowl game. I mean, I don't know if y'all remember the first or second play of the game, Mac Jones drops a bomb across the field to Jerry Jeudy, and it's like a 75-yard touchdown to open it up. Yep. And Bama just took off from there. And I even said after that video, I was like, you took on a Bama team that had several key players opt out, several other key players injured, and you brought more or less a very strong Michigan team to the table and didn't get it done. I don't know if you're going to have a better opportunity of having a wounded deer in front of you that literally walked up to the gun and begged, take me out. But he stayed the course. and you started to see it become successful. And in the end, he was 100% right. I was 100% wrong, and as was Feinbaum, and you've learned from it. But that is a
Mm-hmm.
really good point about Sharon Moore, right? If that's how they did Harbaugh, what would they say about Sharon Moore? And I like Sharon Moore a lot. That's a really good point.
Michigan is in a spot where they can't afford to go back to being mediocre again, because they were mediocre for a long time, for a long time. Um, what was old boy's name? I mean, they weren't good again until Harbaugh got there, and that was a long time, because I think the last, who was that? Denard Robinson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, that was the last, and he was a one man band by himself. He kept, I forgot what coach was there at that point, but it was the one who was basically wearing the suits on the sideline.
Yeah.
Hell, yeah, he was. I mean, it was bad.
They
It was
opened up
really
the
bad.
season against Bama, first
Yeah.
game of the year when they had Denard Robinson. And I remember thinking to myself, I've never seen an offense hit a defense harder than
Mhm.
Bama's offense was hitting that Michigan defense. And they were just running them over. And to see how far they've come in terms of physicality, good point. 100%.
So hey, so listen to this. And so Moore was the acting head coach here for 4 games, right? What was the biggest complaint about Michigan this year? It was about what? It wasn't their defense, was it? The biggest complaint was these guys can't score on anybody.
Mm.
Like their defense is keeping them in all the damn games, right? And so look at this. Last year, he was the acting head coach for 4 games. All right. So it was Bowling Green. All right. It was 31-6. Okay. JJ McCarthy, 143 yards passing. Corum, 101 yards rushing. Okay. Then his next stint was 3 games. It was a juggernaut of a stint too. Penn State. Now, this is your offensive coordinator, right? Who was the acting head coach. They won 24-15 against Penn State. Okay. Maryland, they won 31-24. Ohio State, they won 30-24. Now, I'm not saying that those are bad scores or what have you, but we know what Penn State is. We joke about Penn State, right? Every damn week. They are to the Big Ten what Lane Kiffin is to the SEC. They haven't had a signature win yet, which I think is
That's
going to
little
change.
bro. That's little.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Now, I think things are going to change for Lane this year. But the knock on them was that they weren't winning games as explosive as they should have been with their offense. JJ McCarthy was supposed to be this, that, and the other. And it looks like times he is the best thing since sliced bread out in the field. But then he looks so pedestrian a whole bunch of times too. And that falls on your OC. That falls on your quarterback coach, your OC, what plays are getting called there, right?
But
Go ahead.
to be fair, especially in some of those earlier games, let's be honest, stick to the game plan. Stick to what Harbaugh wants you to do. I mean, it's the same script. It's going to be the same thing. I give you credit on the, excuse me, I'll give you credit on the on like the Penn State games. Those are games where you're like, hey, you're gonna have to do something to win these games. But I think he just stuck to his guns and just ran the football.
And that's
I
true.
mean,
And that's true because it was his first game coaching. It
yeah,
was his first game back coaching as the head coach
yeah.
when Harbaugh got suspended for
Well,
those
but I mean,
those
that's
3
the
games.
thing is that the Harbaugh shadow is going to be there because of the championship. But as far as him actually being there physically, it's not going to be there. So it'll be his show to run. So it'll be interesting to see. As I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be more of the same. I think Edwards is still going to be there. They're still going to have things there, and they look like let's not act like they don't have one of the top quarterbacks that just came in from this class, and let's act like they're not. I don't know how to say that kid's last name. I'm about to butcher
But look here though. This is the
it.
problem though.
Yeah,
You don't want to have a true freshman come in and have to save the team.
but that other
You know what I'm saying?
quarterback
Like
that they had is what I'm talking about. The other quarterback that they were
which one?
doing all those runs and stuff with, or
Oh yeah. He's a kid from Texas. He's from Silsbee, Texas.
yeah, that's what I'm.
What's
Or
his name, guys? Big kid too. He's like 6'4",
It's like
235.
Ogery, isn't it?
Yeah,
Ogery.
Ogery. Oh
I almost
yeah. Him.
I almost said something
Yeah, man.
else, but anyways, I
You stupid, man.
Yeah, so I was
What is
like,
the password?
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I was like, man, they still got those two back, and they're going to be talented, man. They're going to be talented, and I think for Michigan, this is about continuity. You can't afford to lose hold of everything because you'll lose a lot.
And you know what though, and Chris, I want to back you up on that too, because I think this is where Michigan's going to do this for the simple reason if they don't want to see what happened in Alabama.
Yeah,
So we'll kind of go into the Alabama talk here in a minute, but Nick Saban leaves, and oh my God, mass exodus from the players that they. I mean, it's a lot of players. Ty, how many players left? About 26, 27?
Yeah, but I think the thing that gets lost is the vast majority of that happened before Saban retired. They've only
That's
had
true.
10
That's true.
players, and the roster's sitting at 78 players, and that's before they added the transfer portal. So this has been
yeah,
a greatly exaggerated exodus. Now they have had players hit that hurt, but I was making videos, and you can go back on my channel 2 days
Yeah,
before Nick Saban retired. I said expect 12 to 13 more players to hit the portal. We've had 11 since.
11
So
cents. Yeah. So how many
we were
players
right in line.
total?
Bama's roster right now with the new additions, I think, is sitting at, with Parker Brailsford, Bernard, and Austin Mack, I think they're sitting at 80
No,
scholarship right now.
no. But how many hit the portal? Was it 26?
Something around. I mean, it was quite a bit, but
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, So I understand that some of those players weren't going to play, right? We get it. But that was the Alabama mystique, back then was Alabama's mystique was they can keep a bunch of talent on there because your floor is so much higher than anybody else's floor in college football that when somebody else has to get hurt or has to go down and you replace them, that your second and third string guy is just as damn good as the first string guy at a team like look, Ole Miss. I don't want to pick on Lane because Lane has a really good team this year. But, like for instance, Bama's second and third string guy is just as good as a first string guy at Kentucky. Right. And so that's the premise. You build that floor up so that floor is high. So I understand like a lot of those guys might not have played in the games
Well, I think
or
it's they were going to leave regardless,
yeah.
right? And I think people talk about Alabama as if they're at like 50 scholarships. They're at damn
I
near
know,
80
yeah.
scholarships.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. All right.
The biggest surprise thus far, bar none, is Caleb Downs.
Yeah,
And
Caleb
that's the
Downs. Oh
surprise.
my God. Yeah, yeah.
And that hurts. That hurts.
That one hurts. That one hurts a lot for you guys. I was surprised by Knoblauch too. I was just thinking Knoblauch would have stayed in that system. I just
Wasn't
think
surprised.
DeBoer, he's just such a damn good offensive mind. But James Trice says here that Moore was the OC and the head coach for the first time ever. Yeah, on paper, I mean that makes sense. But
yeah.
look, there are a lot of teams that head coaches for OC and their OC is just OC on paper. So you look at even Steve Sarkisian, you look at Lincoln Riley, you look at Ryan Day. Those guys are head coach and OC. On paper, they got somebody else as the OC, but we all know who's calling the plays, right? So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
PG, our boy PG from the PG show. He says Peyton Bowen is better than Caleb Downs. Get him, Ty. Get him, Ty.
Hey,
Peyton Bowen is great.
Ty, be careful. Be careful, Ty. Be careful.
Peyton
Be
Bowen is great.
careful.
Caleb
Be careful.
Downs is different.
He's different,
Hey,
man.
hey.
He's the best defensive back probably in college football.
That's
He's
fine.
Listen,
That's
the
fine.
defensive back room is the area. If you're asking me, Ty, where is Bama hurt the most from
Yeah.
the portal and the Saban? It would be defensive back room. Like that's where the losses. And don't get me wrong, I am a little bit surprised about Black, but kind of hearing some. Not inherently surprised about that. Caden Proctor was another one that grabbed a lot of attention.
Yeah.
He was homesick. That
Yeah,
was
I
going
I
to
wasn't
happen.
surprised by that one.
Not
I
worried
wasn't
about
surprised
that,
by
Ty.
one.
Ty.
But
And
no, I'll give you two that really did surprise me outside of Caleb Downs.
what's that?
Three. Earl Little,
Yeah.
Trey
yeah.
Amos, and Antonio Kite. Those
Hey, Amos, I was really surprised by that one too. Honestly, I was really surprised by that one. But like Amos, I was surprised by Knoblauch. Proctor, not so much. I think we kind of talked about Proctor pretty much this whole season that he's out of position. Right? I mean, let's be honest. And Chris said it best last week. Chris said he gets to go to Iowa and he gets to play with a team that just runs the ball. 50 times a game, and he doesn't have to think about moving backwards. He can just move forward pretty much the entire season.
Oh yeah, Ty, you weren't on there for that one
Oh
last
yeah,
week.
you weren't on.
Yeah, Ty. Hey, look, I had your back, baby. I had your back. All I said was that, hey, look, he's gonna have to figure out if he's gonna move inside or outside, but at least he's going to just a north-south offense. Not anything special, not anything big. Like
Yeah.
Ty, you know what? Y'all
Bama gave
don't
up
worry about
49
Ty.
sacks, man.
I'm gonna.
Huh?
Bama gave up 49.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh yeah,
sacks.
exactly.
That
Hey,
is
look,
that is crazy.
I'm gonna
you know?
speak on Ty's behalf. I'm gonna say what Ty wants to say.
Please,
Son,
please be my anger translator because I got a lot to unload.
let me channel my inner Hayes real quick. Son, if I see you on that field again and you let those Michigan defenders, they're not even hitting you with a spin move. They're not hitting you with any type of swim move. They're just going right past you. If I see that again, it's gonna be me and you outside. I can't do it. Like, what are you doing?
Hey man, that kid would kick your ass, Chris.
Oh yeah, he'd throw me into the next dimension.
I'm just saying, man. It was that Michigan game highlighted everything. They would put two over the top of him and say, "Hey, you got
he
to
was
figure
hurt
out."
in the Michigan game, but I mean,
But-
it wasn't just the Michigan game.
Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
just the Michigan game. The Michigan game highlighted
It was the whole season.
They
It was
put
the whole
two
season.
people over
Yeah.
the top of him, and he was like, "I got to pick which one." And they wasn't even. They was just one person going at him, going right past him. Though I was just like, "Dude, something got to happen."
And but then again, we also got to look at. I want to give him a little bit of grace here, right? He played high school ball in Iowa, okay? And I'm not saying nothing bad about Iowa high school ball, but he's not playing ball in the Southeast where he is going against. If he's in the state of Texas, he's going against Colin Simmons in the state championship game, right? Or if he's in Alabama, he's going against some of the best talent in the country that are being recruited by everybody, or in Georgia, or in Florida, you know what I'm saying, or in Mississippi, or even like freaking Louisiana. He's not in that region where every night on the opposing side in 6A ball, you have another Division I prospect going against you, especially at the edge position. Right. So he didn't have, this was his growing up period this first year. Now, I would have liked to seen him get better over the year. It did get better a little bit, Ty, right? I mean, it wasn't as bad
At
towards
times,
the end.
the wildest thing was, guys, is there were times, and I have some of the tape. We can go check it out at some point. He would handle some of the difficult stuff pretty well. But then you'd be like a basic speed rush, and it was just like a speeding missile cleaning Jalen Milrow from the blind side. And I'm just like, oh,
in all honesty, it's just freshman inconsistencies and things as far as
He's gonna be a
just
good
like,
player.
He's gonna be a good player.
For me, I feel like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the nutrition or the strength and conditioning program is not elite down there. All I'm saying is that it's probably very NFL like, where it's like, hey, there's some of this you're gonna have to really just do on your own. You know what I'm saying? As far as you need to take care of your homework.
But we also got to realize that every 5-star isn't going to be ready-made when they get on campus to play day one. Every 5-star is not going to be a Caleb Downs.
Yeah, and
right?
he was
it's not going to happen. Every 5-star is not going to be a guy who's going to be able to step in, especially in the offensive line at left tackle. It's one of the hardest positions, man, to play. So, he'll be fine at Iowa though. So he learned.
So two things before I think we jump into the whole, the board wins his prize bag, right? But so one thing and this is something I've been wanting to say to Ty. I can almost imagine how you feel, because I wonder if NIL and the portal was as rampant and as evident as it was today back when Bob Stoops stepped down. Would the same thing have happened with the CD Lamb, Hollywood, those guys who were on campus at OU? You get what I'm saying? Whenever Lincoln took over, because don't get me wrong, Lincoln was their guy.
I think they would have stayed.
A lot of them came for Bob, though,
No, but they would have stayed because of the continuity, man. Honestly, I want to put it like this. And I'm not just saying this because Sark's my coach, right? But if Sark was the OC at Alabama and Nick Saban stepped down right now, I don't think you see a mass exodus, because the relationship, especially on the offensive side of the ball, the relationship that he would have had with that side of the team. And he's just a likable guy. And Lincoln Riley was going to be the next guy. Everybody knew he was the coach in waiting. So I don't think, even with NIL now, I don't think OU would have lost a ton of players because Lincoln would have, he was anointed as the next one, and everybody knew it, right? So yeah, a little bit different. But look,
it
Sharpshooters
was still
podcast.
kind of a shock, but it was just the fact that man, you had CD, you had Hollywood, you had Mark Andrews, you had Baker, you had I think Collar was there. I mean, you had
talent. You had talent.
Yeah, you had a lot of talent. It was just one of those things where it's like, shit, like what happens now?
Purple, Kiffin wasn't coming to Bama. You're not going to sleep with one of the boosters' wives and think you're going to...
Hey, don't say that out loud.
So
don't say that out loud, Ty. Come on.
Speaking of that, I mean, not that, but speaking of coaches, so my next point to say, and Ty, I thought you would just like that little tidbit. I thought that'd be something just to think about. Like, damn, like, you could have went through this back then. But I think the question, and here's a question that's getting swept under the rug because Saban has taken over all the headlines for the past couple of weeks, right?
Yeah.
Does Hugh Freeze take over Bama?
Dude,
does he put a chokehold over Bama?
Hey, I've been wanting to talk about this, man, for a while.
Because I told my aunt, I told my aunt yesterday, I said, Aunt, man, I said, this is the prime time for Hugh Freeze to put a chokehold on Bama. And I said, you know what's crazy? I said, now you're going to see a lot of people. OU, I said, especially OU, like Bates and all of them. A lot of people are going to go messing around in Alabama, poking around. Now, it's not like you can't go get a player out of Bama, but now you're going to, it may be free reign for a little bit because you may be able to go get some of their best, their best D linemen. And here and there's some years where Alabama has some of the best, if not the best D line talent
in the country.
In
the country.
This is what I'll say, because that was a legitimate concern before today. You know who Ryan Williams is a legacy to, right?
Yeah.
Auburn.
Yep.
Stuffed in a locker. DeBoer has been in the SEC for a week and a half. Ryan Williams, there were 3 figures in his recruitment that were massive. Nick Saban, gone. T-Rob, gone. Coach Wiggins, gone. And still, they beat Hugh Freeze when Hugh Freeze has had an existing relationship for a year plus. So I'm just saying that I hear the concerns, but the first time they go to war, he beat him for a legacy.
Hey, Ty, you would know better than we do. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, so first off, Sharpshooters podcast. Hey, look, guys, good friend of the show, man. He's probably been on everybody's show here. He's a Bama guy too as well. Lives right down the street from me, basically, man. But really good, like podcast. Go to Sharpshooters podcast too as well. Great friend of ours. But Ty, I do want to say something about that, man. Is I was talking to some folks kind of behind the scene today about Auburn, and Auburn has a top 5 NIL program pretty much in the country, right?
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize how much NIL money they have.
And I think that's going to be the scary part about Auburn is that Alabama, of course, is going to get there. It's their Bama, right? But it's going to come down to a point where when that NIL has to really get ramped up, Auburn's is tough to beat, folks. That's why Auburn's pulling a lot of players now, folks. It's not because they were great last year or the year before last, right? I mean, they're pulling a lot of good players. They got a hell of an NIL program, and I think that is very sustainable in the new college football era. I think Alabama's going to get there. They weren't Bama's not there yet, right, when it comes to NIL, which is weird because it's Bama. But
they didn't have to operate at the same level as everybody else.
I know NIL. They were, because they had Nick Saban, right? And so now
prospects talk about the Saban discount. Where
the Saban discount
straight up said, "Oh, I took half of what someone else was offering me to go play for Saban."
So Todd, this is what I'm getting at. Maybe Nick Saban leaving in the long run. No, I shouldn't say that. It's never good to have the greatest ever.
No, but I get what you're saying, right?
But it's going to jumpstart their program when it comes to NIL, so that they can compete. Morgan. They can compete 1-for-1 with other big NIL programs. And I think that's what Alabama's lacking right now.
Listen, I think you're 100% right. Alabama really, in my opinion, they need to take a blueprint from the Texas NIL collective, right? And how it's structured. And no, you're not going to be able to structure it just like Texas's, but there's a reason, and Nick, we've talked about this before. There's a reason why a lot of college football looked at what Texas did and said, okay, this is the standard. And before the IRS came knocking at Texas A&M, that was going to be the new standard. What they had just unveiled, what was it, last season? They had just unveiled a new
The Texas One Fund.
collection.
Yeah.
Well, is that the Texas A&M one?
No. Texas is the Texas One Fund.
No, but the Texas A&M, they unveiled a new one that was going to become the standard, but then the IRS came.
Yeah, then the
knocking
IRS
and
came.
said,
Yeah.
So
They were
because
doing
of
some
that,
stupid stuff.
Texas is still good. The IRS hasn't come knocking, so you need to structure it in an analogous way that they have. And they have Alabama NIL has been described to me as this. With complimentary AFLAT coverage, I like that a lot, Brian. I like that a lot. I really, really do like that.
I knew you liked that one.
That I'm gonna remember that for days. I'm not gonna lie to you. I really like that. Alabama's NIL collective has been described to me as this. They said, Ty, they have the ability to play ball. Now, we're not saying they have A&M money or Texas money, but they have the ability to play ball with the big boys. But they aren't in the current capacity to play ball with the big boys. Now, I will say, Courtney Morgan, remember the name. You already saw, Chris, one of y'all's former coaches, Jamar Kane, tweeted out today about Courtney Morgan and said he's one of the best in the business. I mean, this guy is a rock star. He is already taking charge of trying to revitalize the Bama NIL, kind of trying to get behind it. And you've already seen a bit of a swing, but there is a lot of work to go. There's a lot of work to go. No, that's a very real point. I just always wonder if Auburn is going to get out of their own way. Listen, we know Texas A&M has got a lot of money too, right?
Yeah, but they can't get out their way.
But they can't get out their way. I just saw Auburn launch an internal coup against their previous head coach for something they alleged, and then hired a coach that had actually done what the previous one was alleged to have done.
That's true.
So I don't listen. You're both 100% right, and I know people are going to say, but you just don't like Auburn, and it's not that. It's I don't trust Auburn to get out of their own way, because when since 2013 have they proved they're going to get out of their own way?
But Ty, one thing we can say is we've seen Auburn win, right? We've seen them use it. We have seen Auburn use their unofficial NIL 15 years ago, 16, 17 years ago, to bring it a national championship. We have never seen Texas A&M use their unofficial NIL and now official NIL to do anything worth it.
Sure, but they also had Cam Newton.
Hold on.
You're not wrong, but that's
Todd,
the only defense to ever rank outside the top 30.
That's the unofficial NIL. You brought a transcendent player in.
I'm saying how many times have we seen a Cam Newton since Cam Newton? There hasn't been.
Yeah, it's true.
Two things. First off, can we all agree that Harsin was fired for taking advantage of the transfer portal? Can we just agree on that?
Shut up, man. I really don't like you right now.
I'm just saying, man.
That's fair though. That's fair.
But I think that we definitely need the one thing that I'm interested to see is the longevity of the culture, right?
Yeah.
So word is thrown out there a lot, because you see what kind of hire Texas A&M just made. It's something that has it's basically the equivalent of going and getting a Ford Ranger basically and saying, hey, you know what, we're gonna make it work.
We're gonna make it an F-150. We're gonna make this Ranger
F-150. Yeah, they went out there and got a 2006 F-150 and said, hey, park it out here by that Lambo down there. You see that? And he's coming there, blue collar, lunch pail in hand, saying, let's get to work. And everybody else will say, what are you talking about? We're going golfing today. It's they went to fix their culture to get that type of style out there. So you're interested to see, is Hugh Freeze on his best behavior. And Hugh Freeze has shown a little bit of kind of what he's willing to do, but he's just basically, his press conferences are always are their comedy.
They're
Even
gold.
when he's trying to be melancholy and all that, they're very it's funny as hell because every so now and then he will basically just say, "Yeah, we don't have the talent." I mean, he will bash
And
his own team.
he's so truthful about it too.
Yeah, he will bash his own team. Will bash his own team.
Look, I think I don't know, man. I think you're onto something, Chris, with this one. Um, how much are they going to be able to be disciplined enough to have sustained success? That's the key for Auburn.
He's got them believing down there. I think they could have sustained success. I mean, Hugh Freeze is a really good ball coach. Really
Excellent,
good ball coach.
Keep him
excellent.
away from Rolodexes.
Yeah, you got to keep him away. I mean, that's the thing. It's just you got to. It's just like with Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin is a brilliant mind, one of the
True.
most brilliant offensive minds in the
But he
game.
can't get out of his own way either.
I think he's a great coach, but it's just one of those things where you know you kind of gotta have to pick what you like, like kind of with BV, you're like, hey, BV wants to be straight edge, play, by the book, do everything. Okay, cool. Like I'm sure that there's stuff that happens as coach, right? But then you got like the Lane Kiffins of the world where you're like, okay, do I really want my coach tweeting about every damn thing and giving everybody bulletin material? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It's just you kind of just have to go with it at some point. But Auburn is kind of desperate. So they had to go and make a hire like this. I mean, let's just be real. They were desperate at one point.
Yeah, listen, I think y'all are both right, but
Yeah.
I was concerned about what could happen in the state of Alabama, but I think today, guys, today goes a long way in DeBoer kind of planting the flag, and at the very least, telling Hugh Freeze, "Nah, you're not going to get it for free." Right? Like you might get some wins, but we're going to go to war over these wins. And that's cool. I'm fine with the war so long as it's not coming for free. This was a huge win.
So
Auburn legacy, the whole 9 yards.
so Todd, tell me this. Why did Ryan Williams decommit in the first place?
Well, because Nick Saban was no longer there. T-Rob was no longer going to be there, and Holloman Wiggins was no longer going to be there. He had no pre-existing relationships in the building.
Well, hold on here. Okay, so I'm just thinking outside the box right now. I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm just thinking outside the box. So we've been saying that players at Bama get the Saban discount, right? So they've turned out a lot of money NIL to come to Alabama. Now that Saban left, could it just been a play to I'm going to decommit so I can run my bag up a little bit higher?
Could have been, sure, but I also don't know how much Alabama's NIL has truly turned the corner in a matter of 7 days. I mean, you got to realize the Board of Trustees just started announcing official hires today, and they didn't want to meet to make these hires official. And even though they're not doing anything in terms of Alabama's NIL, the only reason I bring that to you is because Alabama has kind of been measured or reserved in terms of moving at pace historically.
Yeah.
And so, though I hope they revitalize the NIL, I think you're on to something, and I think you're right. I just don't know how much they would have been able to increase their NIL capabilities as opposed to like an Auburn, where they already have the Yellowwood behind them, right? Like that's their major. Chris, do you know that? You know all the wood at Home Depot with the yellow tag at the end of it, the Yellowwood. That's a big benefactor to Auburn.
Oh wow!
So they've got money. Nino's 100% right, man. They have got money.
I didn't know it was that kind of money. God,
They've got money. No,
that's damn near similar to oil money. Damn,
No,
Home
they've
Depot and
got
Lowe's,
money.
yellow
They
tag
have got
ass.
real money.
My thoughts about Ryan Williams
Real money.
was did he kind of play himself into a corner? Don't get me wrong. I know you guys are going to say, hey, I know the kid's hella talented, right? You just don't reclassify and is still ranked inside the top 10 in the nation as
Number
wide
six.
receiver.
Yeah, he's one of
You
the
just
best.
don't do that. But at the same time, did he maybe play himself into kind of like a hole as far as like you reclassified and committed and did all that for a reason to go to Bama? A lot of other places started filling up quick. It's the only other place I was like, I mean, the only other place to me right now that makes sense would be probably FSU or maybe, I mean, you can go anywhere in the country that you want, but
A&M was after him because Holloman Wiggins is now the wide receiver coach at A&M.
Ain't
Had
nobody
that
going there. He
pre-existing
don't even got no
relationship.
quarterback over there though.
Yeah,
LSU was after him, and he turned down the LSU visit. Texas was after him. He turned down the Texas visit.
yeah, obviously.
Auburn was after him.
Shut
and
up,
he
Chris.
didn't. So no, listen. This kid is good enough that he's gonna see the football.
No, but to kind of finish off my point, it wasn't just that like that he played himself in a hole where Bama was the only place that he can go, but it was like I think he played himself as far as like, dang, I really
That's a fair
reclassified.
point.
He left, and then after that, there's not a better fit for me because
Because the rosters are filled up too.
Yeah, rosters are filled up, or I don't have a quarterback here. I don't have this here.
Once again, I don't think any of the teams after him were worried about their rosters being full.
Oh no, they would have taken him, but like I love Ron Williams. I think he's one of the best recruits at wide receiver that we've probably seen in the past.
He'd be the highest rated wide receiver at anybody's roster, not named Auburn, because Auburn signed the number 2. But he would be a higher rated wide receiver on any roster he stepped into.
Yeah, exactly. But my only thing is when you start to look at certain teams, like, even at Texas, I look at what Texas did, and going to go get a Bond and, going to go get, you got Jonte Cook, who's a 5-star on the team already, who's been in the system for 2 years. And we've already talked about how Sark doesn't like to spread that ball around a lot. He likes to get guys who he wants and he trusts and yada, yada, yada. I mean, that's just Sark, right? And so, but not even
he was
there.
after him for a reason.
Oh yeah, he was after him for a reason. But I think that door maybe I ain't gonna say shut because he wanted him on campus. But
Sark even still went to go visit him after he canceled the visit, so that door ain't shut.
No.
I
didn't say it was shut. I'm saying a guy like Ron Williams is probably looking at like, God damn, they just took 4 guys in the portal too. You know what I'm saying? And they got a Jonte Cook there too as well. Wow. And how many times am I really going to get the ball? Because Jonte couldn't get the ball a lot last year, and I think he should have got the ball a lot more than what he did last year. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I'm saying.
Boy.
I think that's fair, but I also think Alabama, from a receiving standpoint, they're returning an analogous amount in terms of, like, you had a lot of questions before you hit the transfer portal, right, with an Isaiah Bond. Alabama just brings in a Jeremy Bernard. They bring in an Amari Jefferson, a Rico Scott, 2 very highly touted wide receivers. You still have Kobe Prentice. You still have Kendrick Law. You still have Jalen Hale. All guys who people were after.
Yeah,
right?
I like
Jalen Hale.
Law.
Well, Jalen Hale.
I was surprised Hale didn't hit the portal.
That came calling.
Yeah. Hey, question is Dominique Jackson still coming?
Yeah, he's there.
Okay,
he's there. So
because he was there for your practice too, wasn't it?
I don't think that you're wrong. Like a lot of places took a lot of wide receiver talent, but Ryan Williams is different. Like, you don't reclassify and remain top 10. And I don't know if y'all watched the All-American game. He went off. Right? He went off. And Lane, I think he'd have seen the field anywhere he went. I do. No matter where Ryan Williams would have gone.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a wide receiver on anybody's roster that has a higher ceiling. That's just my opinion, though.
Oh, no.
But I mean, also the scouts also kind of.
No, like I can see that. But also you got to look at the first year on how low is that floor going to be the first year. Because college is a lot different. And
it's not an easier position to walk into. Matt Goodell says it all the time.
That is true. I'm not saying it's not. But we've all seen where players go to college and it is a little different. It just is a little different. It's a different level of speed. It just is what it is. That's just across the board. But like you say, I do think he's the best wide receiver talent to come out of high school in the last decade. That's just my opinion.
And one more thing. Ty Hayes, I got a bone to pick with you. Let's unpack something that you just said earlier. You think that keeping Ryan Williams is enough right now for the board? Hell no. Hey, that boy gonna have to win at least 10 or more games.
Well, yeah. I mean, fans are fans, right? Fans are fans.
Dude,
I'm talking about the season's not here.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're comparing DeBoer to his peers, his results precede himself, right? We don't have to get into all of that, what he was able to do in terms of turnaround, taking a 4-8 team to 11-2, taking an offense that was outside the top 100 to a top 12 offense year one. I mean, that just doesn't happen. And then taking a team that was 4-8 2 years later to a national championship. His coaching precedes him. You listen to players that have sat down with him. Michael Penix gave a glowing review saying if you're a wide receiver, you should really consider following him. But we don't know what he's going to do in the SEC, right? Like that is a real thing. But compared to his peers, I don't think that you were going to find too many more coaches that I think they could have hired that would have been better
Nick,
than Kalen DeBoer.
What's up? What's that?
We got our boy back, man. Ty Hayes.
He got him back. Yeah,
Man,
we got him back. Hey,
man.
look here though. Hey, that was a hell of a pickup for Alabama. I love DeBoer's game, right? I honestly, it's great, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, I got to give him props, man, because he has some fortitude downstairs, man, to say I'm going to come in and be the guy behind Saban. You know what I'm saying? A lot of guys would back out and say, "Look here, bro. I know that first person behind him, they got 3 years tops to go, to get in there and do it. They got 3 years tops. If they don't get it done, they out of the picture, right? Because of the expectations that Saban has put up there. And I think he's stepping up to the plate. I think he understands the assignment, and I want to see what he's going to do. But I also want to see how the Bama fans are going to react to him.
Well, they're fans. You know what I mean? Like,
but I'm talking about how are they going? They have got to understand. Like, look, I live in Alabama. I have a whole family. My whole other side of the family are from Alabama. And when Nick Saban lost 2 games, with the Blake Sims era, it was the worst team ever. This is ridiculous. Our team sucks this year. I'm like, really? You're in the playoffs, right? Like that's, even this year with Jalen Milroe. Ty, you saw it, the first 6 games. Shit, even against Auburn until the last pass, they were cursing Jalen Milroe out until 4th and 31. You know what I'm saying? Like they wanted his head.
Yeah, I guess I live in Texas, right? And I'm by the Oklahoma border, so I see fans as fans.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
But Ty, he's not used to
I agree,
team
but
winning like that. Ty.
I'm not worried about fans. I'm worried about
immune to that.
Who you talking about?
He don't know about that. He doesn't know anything about that.
No, Chris, I'm talking about. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about these fans in Alabama, and I'm talking about Bama fans.
Yeah,
look,
they're fans.
You just got to understand the program trajectory. Like 10-2 in a lot of like, especially blue bloods teams that win consistently, constantly. You lose a 1 game, 2 game. That's not going to cut it.
But I think Kalen DeBoer is stepping in Alabama at the exact right time because of the new expanded playoff. This helps him out a lot, because if we're talking about a college football championship playoff era where it's only 4 teams and he loses 1 or 2 games in the SEC and he's out of the playoffs, they're going to be talking about firing his ass, right?
I'll put it like this.
Now it's different.
I'll put it like this right here. At places like Bama, and for G-Man's sake, I won't say because he's in the comments crying, but at places like Bama, right? Let's go with Michigan. I guess we could say that right there. But places like that, being Bo Pelini is not good enough. Being 9-3, 10-2 legitimately every year is not good enough. It's not going to cut it. It doesn't matter if you just make the playoff. You got to win it at some point, because that's not going to be good enough. I think the times of coaches being at places for 20, 30 years, I think that's kind of dying out is what it seems like a little bit, because I think teams are wanting to go above and beyond what is happening. But I think that's the best way to put it. Being Bo Pelini is not good enough. I think that the extended college football playoff is going to help DeBoer, but for how long until people are calling for, his job, his head?
Yeah, I guess I'm just not really moved by the opinion of fans, like in any capacity.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'll make, I guess I'll talk about it, but at the end of the day, I'm more concerned about like on-field results than I'm concerned about like the fans and their opinion, because if they're at a position where, listen, Alabama has a lot they're going to have to kind of, as much as this is a very talented team still, and it absolutely is one of the most talented rosters in college football still, you got some stuff you got to figure out.
Yeah.
You got a defensive back room right now that Jabbar Muhammad, by the last thing I checked, it looks like he's trending to Oregon.
Yeah.
Both Nick and I, Bama and Texas fans
everywhere.
No, Oregon. Oregon is like the big player right now.
Oregon's the big player.
And Oregon.
we were both hoping that he would
That-
shut it down after the Alabama visit, at least in terms of being like, okay, it's either
yeah,
Bama or
it's only
Texas.
Bama or Texas.
But no, it's going to be Oregon, and shout out to Oregon. It is what it is. But like, you do have to rebuild the secondary, right? If you ask me who returns in Alabama's secondary that was a starter, Malachi Moore.
Yeah.
No, that's where the conversation ends. If you're asking me who returns as a starter in Alabama's secondary, Malachi Moore. And that's where the so
that's it.
That's it in the secondary. Now, that being objectively fair, Devontae Smith was supposed to be a starter. He was the clear guy to be next to Caleb Downs all year, and he was getting rave reviews, and like a week before opening game, hurt. Right, and that was a big loss. Not Trey Amos, Jalen Key ended up coming in, but no doubt, like this is what I mean. And Nick, you're right. I don't mean to be dismissive when I say like I'm not, because you are right? Like there's no doubt about like how crazy Alabama fans are. There's no doubt about that. I guess I'm just operating under the assumption that I know he's not Nick Saban. I'm not expecting him to be Nick Saban. I'm expecting him to be Kalen DeBoer, and I know there's a lot of work to be done. So like year one, I'm not expecting him to win a national championship. I'm like, no, let's see what we're working with year one. By the end of the year, we'll see how things are looking, right? Like I'm expecting a successful year, but
Ty, we're rational football fans.
Sure, but I think I don't
do
know,
this for a living.
The reason this conversation doesn't move me is I see this from every fan base.
Yeah,
but
like I see crazy fans from every fan base, and I'm just like, I don't know. It's just.
But what happens if he starts doing Pete Golding things? Does
that's going to be but look, Ty, I got this one. This guy's a lot better caliber coach than Pete Golding will ever be.
Yeah, this dude is a hell of a coach.
Hey, you say that name and Ty's lips start quivering like
third and golden ass. Come on, man. This guy's.
Did you just say Pete Golding?
Dude, like I still don't know what Lane Kiffin sees in Pete Golding, but look here, man, Pete Golding. Since we're talking about Pete Golden, let's talk about Lane Kiffin for a little bit. I don't want to talk about Pete Golden. Third and golden just brings Ty to a whole different spot, right? So
that's the PTSD.
James Trice says we got to lead up the golden showers.
So I don't know if y'all know. Okay, so James knows where this comes from, or maybe he doesn't, but I think he does. On the Bama Standard every Tuesday night, we close the show off by promoting, each individual's content and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, a while ago, Matt Caddell and I and all these guys, we started doing like, and you can catch me on our OnlyFans this week. And we would make it topical. And whenever Alabama played Auburn, my topical OnlyFans is I was like, well, we know the weakness of Pete Golding is going over top and like the wheel route, so you just rain it down on him. So this week you can find me on my OnlyFans, Golding Showers, because we're gonna make it rain on Pete Golding. So that's where the golden shower. Yeah, I don't know if he saw that, but that was the.
That's crazy, dude. That's crazy.
Thinking about it, I can see a running back running out the backfield on a wheel route right now, and there he goes.
So getting about Pete Golding, let's talk about Lane Kiffin for a while, man. First of all, why did he bring in a guy like Pete Golding? And then second of all, Lane Kiffin, what the hell are you doing?
Trolling.
He's the biggest troll ever. And there's a reason why Alabama didn't even interview you, Lane. And it's because of the immaturity that is coming from a head coach at a Power 5 team that has stacked up a bunch of talent. And I tell you what, if you're talking about a fan base that's probably going to be, a tad bit antsy this year, it's probably going to be Ole Miss fan base. The amount of players that they got out of the portal this year, coupled with the talent that they already got coming back, that fan base is probably going to be expecting championship or bust also. They have the fourth best odds, I think, in college football to win a championship this year. Yeah. And everybody knows about Ole Miss. They're not a perennial team that's going to be great every freaking year. Mm-hmm. What they are is a team that could be good every 4 or 5 years. And this is the team. This is the year, right? You went out and got all these players. Now, we've thrown the culture word around. A lot of these players were in the portal because they didn't fit culture within their program. And now we're bringing all those guys into the same locker room. Let me tell you an example. You guys know I'm a Texas guy. We brought a couple guys in that pretty much didn't meet our culture in the second year with Ajay Hall, all right? Who else? We had Ajay Hall and also Billingsley as well. Now, We saw what Ajay Hall did in front of people on camera, beating a boot off his car when you could have just went and paid the $50 to get the boot off the car. Little things like that are what mess up a locker room, where a kid has to get arrested and you got to get somebody to go get him out of jail for something stupid, right? So you got to look at Lane. You brought a lot of talent. We get it. Now you being a leader of men, because these aren't kids anymore. These are men. These are 2021. They can go to war right now. If this country had a draft, these kids can go to war. You got to be a leader of men to make sure that you mold the culture in your locker room. But the culture that Lane Kiffin is exuding on Twitter, Instagram, all this trolling, like if I'm a kid, I'm looking at coach and I'm like, if he's doing it, well, shit, I'm gonna do it too. So that was the beauty of a guy like Nick Saban, man. Is yes, he was older and we get it. He's lived his life, but throughout his whole career, it has been steady, professional in the room, but likable.
Well,
you can be both.
Yes, you're 100% right. And listen, I don't have to go far, right? Because I think people are going to get to know Kalen DeBoer. I don't know him great yet, but you listen to the reviews he's got. But let's talk about two coaches. And no, Lane Harrison, we love you. We love you. Right? You're great. You're great. You have nothing to worry about. But let's talk about two coaches that fan bases know, and I'm about to start a war between these two fan bases.
Go ahead, let's get it.
But, Nick, you have Sark.
Yeah.
Chris, you have Venables. Two younger head coaches who are not on Twitter trolling. And listen, I'm here for a little bit of the trolling, right?
Yeah.
I think a little bit is fun. But at the point where it is clear as day that you're waking up every single day thinking, how can I troll today? It's a little bit different, right?
It's excessive, man. It's
Venables,
excessive.
you don't see it. You don't see Sark just out here. Sark might send out a little light troll or something that could be but that's the kind of stuff where I'm like, oh, that's fun, right? Like Kiffin is just, for lack of a better word, I think this is the part that always gets me about Lane Kiffin. And it's the reason why whenever we would talk about like who I thought would be one of the first Saban assistants to beat Saban, we know who it was, but one of the reasons why like I was never overtly worried about Kiffin is that Kiffin is like that genius, but he's so chaotic. You don't know where he's going, right? Like he's so unstable that you don't know what's going to happen. Kiffin is one of those people that will think that he has formulated a brilliant game plan, roll it out in the first quarter, it not work, but be like, no, I'm so brilliant, it'll work. Give it time.
Stubborn.
And it's like by the fourth quarter, it's like, damn, Lane, it's not working. And now you're behind by a bunch of touchdowns, and they'll score. But it's, to me, the difference between Sark and Kiffin is Sark is what Kiffin would be if he was a bit more buttoned up, a bit more, I don't want to say like professional, because I think that that's like a big negative connotation on Kiffin, but for lack of a better word, professional.
It's more professional. I mean, the stuff that he does online is not professional. I mean, just think, look, man, I'm a commander in the military. If I did some of that stuff, I mean, how do you think my troops would look at me? You know what I mean? Like, you got to have some kind of professionalism. You know, Chris is a lawyer. He understands. You can't be on here just high-siding like crazy, and people that you're supposed to be representing see you doing some dumb stuff online. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't work like that. Chris,
don't know how many tweets I had to delete today in an attempt to try and be professional.
What you laughing about, Chris? What you laughing about, man?
I mean, I like Lane, man.
I know he's comedy.
Like Lane too.
Everybody likes Lane, but Chris, could you imagine if Lane got the keys to Alabama?
Oh God.
That would be instant. That was instant gold, man.
The videos, the trolling I would do of Ty every day. That would be crazy, man. It's wild. It's wild.
This is a great comment.
Ritalin.
That was some good stuff, man. We think we got away from the Ritalin a little bit too quickly in this country.
Oh my god, that's funny as hell. Oh
Bro, if
man,
you hand him that, I mean, it's
that would have been stupid. That'd have been. Look, man.
Jack like that's no.
I
Look,
can imagine it.
I'm eager to see because I think for me with them, I know the offense is going to be good, but can Jackson Dart actually be like top three Heisman candidate? Right? We've been begging him to be that. He hasn't. He's basically to me. It kind of feels like this past season, and I don't care what the numbers say, just off of eye test alone. It kind of feels like he's kind of plateaued in a sense, simply because I have higher expectations than what he's achieved thus
With
far.
Jackson Dart.
Yeah, and he's achieved a bunch. Don't get me wrong; it's not like he hasn't won,
Mm-hmm.
but as
You just
far
thought it would be.
yeah, the
My
level that it should be on, that you think that it could be on, I don't think that he's reached that yet. I don't even think that he's even even messed with basically just even touching the pot. I don't know. I don't know.
yeah, my
So
only
I think for him, it's really on him as far as how far this team can go, simply because I've seen them down the stretch in some tough games. I've seen them pull it out, but I've seen them against what we would consider the better or the best conversation. I mean, best not conversation, but better teams in the SEC. And I've seen how he's played, and I'm just like, I mean, I don't know. I'm not asking you to be Superman, but I'm asking you to be better than what you are right now, which I know you can be. And then defensively, you're sitting there saying, I don't know. I don't trust Golding to not go out there and say, "Hey, Walter Nolan, instead of trying to eat up that middle, I want you to drop 10 yards and try to play coverage in this in
yeah.
his zone defense." So I don't know what he's going to do. So I mean, he's always going to be unpredictable. He's a wild card. But Jackson Dart, they go as far as he can go.
Look here though. I think my only thing with that though, Chris, is who's in front of him, who's blocking for him, right? Ole Miss's lines. I don't think their trench work was, you know, it's just not as deep as the other teams in the SEC. They haven't been able to recruit in the trenches like Bama has, and like a Georgia has, and
Mhm.
even like a Tennessee.
But
They done pretty well,
but the
right?
thing, but the thing with Kiffin, okay, you gotta remember, Kiffin is, let's just call it what he is. He's a joker. Okay. He's
Hmm.
a wild card himself. Why? Because in times like this, when you say stuff like that, now don't get me wrong, it's a recipe for disaster going into the SEC. We all know that SEC defense is all the rest of that stuff. But that's why you go and play with the same. And that's why you go and have guys like Levy and all the rest of those guys around to really learn all these different principles and stuff like that. Because then what is his offense going to be? It's going to be the best of both worlds. He's going to try to be physical. Don't get me wrong. Lane Kiffin knows he needs to be physical, but at the same time, there's going to be a bit of a finesse aspect to his game, and that's what it's based upon. It's going to be a little bit up more of a gimmick offense if that offensive line isn't able to hold up, because Jackson Dart is mobile, but if you get him hurt, who's behind him? They do got some quarterbacks behind them though, but they're inexperienced
Oh
themselves.
God, they have so many
Yeah,
quarterbacks behind
Yeah,
this.
he's loaded.
Calling Spencer Sanders. Anybody?
No. Oh man, look here. What's this? James says, forget blocking. Ole Miss is going to be 22 starters back up by a whole bunch of nothing. And look, that's kind of what they were last year. I'm not going to say a bunch of nothing, but I thought they were very strong as starters for the most part, with the exception of the lines. The lines weren't great, but that's where it starts. It has to start at the lines, man. They did pick up two guys in the transfer portal. They got the tackle from, I think, North Carolina, right? Who is, I think, the number one or number two tackle in the country in the portal. But he's going to have to come in and do great things. But how is the rest of that line going to be? That's the real key, right? And um, to win, you got to be more than gimmicky to win, especially long term. For a full season, you might be able to get away with that for a couple games throughout the year when you're just outmatched. But
yeah.
week in and week out, man, you got to get that trench work working so that those running backs can run the ball, like effectively. Which that's what opens up Lane's offense, is really the run,
Yeah.
right? And so those lines got to get fortified, man.
And he doesn't have Judkins anymore.
And he doesn't have Judkins, who was making that line look a little bit better than what it was because he was a beast back there breaking tackles like crazy. You know what I'm saying? So, yep.
I have nothing. I have
Yeah,
nothing to say against that. I mean, that's the truth. I mean, hey, look.
Hey, man. Hey, I do like Lane. We're not hating on Lane, folks. We like Lane. He's funny as hell.
Sound like
But
y'all hating to me.
no, not hating. It's just
I'm hating a little bit.
I'm not. It's just
I'm just kidding.
For the last 2 years, we have seen Lane be so praising Nick Saban and so loving Alabama, and I'm going for Alabama today, roll tide, and all that. Let's be honest, folks. That's not because Lane loves Alabama, okay? That's because Lane, I think, was posturing himself to try to get this next job if and when Saban retires. And I don't think Lane thought Saban was going to retire this early, right? But he was trying to posture himself. Saban retires, and all that posturing he's done, he didn't get a freaking phone call. You know what I'm saying?
Let's start referring to him as Kiffin. I'm feeling bad for Lane here in the chat. He said, "Y'all sounding like my parents talking about me."
Well, look, I think, because that's exactly what he was doing, Nick. That's a great point. Look, these hoes ain't loyal, and neither is Lane. Lane Kiffin is not loyal. We've seen it too many times. Have y'all seen anytime that he goes back to y'all see what happens whenever he goes back to Tennessee?
Didn't they throw a mustard bottle at him?
Right. They threw damn near everything they could. I saw golf clubs and everything. I was like, how did you get that in?
Yeah. That's the real conversation, is how bad security is at the Tennessee venue, not the fact that they're throwing anything at Lane.
I know, right? Goddamn Lane.
I guess obviously we're winding down. Been on here for longer than an hour.
Yeah, about an hour, yeah.
The question, one question I think we need to, just kind of go back to the Harbaugh thing. Just one simple question is Harbaugh's move to the NFL, basically him leaving the Michigan job, is that going to have the same effect on college football that Saban retiring had?
No, because if they promote more and he takes the job, which everybody thinks is going to happen, that team's going to stay intact.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, not only that, but I meant like just kind of on the I guess you could say the global scale that it did. Because Nick Saban
Harbaugh's a hell of a coach,
but he's a hell of a coach, but he's not the greatest all time.
Nick Saban sent shockwaves throughout the nation. Harbaugh was kind of like, but
yeah, no, but just think, Harbaugh just won a championship now. About an hour and a half ago, everybody found out that he was going to be going to the NFL, and nothing has blown up. And the minute Saban said he was gone, dude, it was news channels for 3 days straight. This shit was on CNN. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't on ESPN. It was like on news channels across, man. Like, it's Nick freaking Saban. 7 championships, greatest coach of all time. And Harbaugh's a great coach. He is going to be a Hall of Fame college football coach. True. But there's levels to this.
I want Feinbaum to
True,
do his
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's levels to this. So,
Brian, just like what was written on my last ticket, I got wrong lane.
I'm just so happy, man, that we got Ty back, man. Ty must have went into a think tank and then he just said, you know what, I'm comfortable with this, man.
No, actually, I don't know. I guess I've been doing a bunch of content on my channel. It hasn't been lives as much because for lives, I've been on with Bama football with Kyle Henderson. It's a massive Alabama channel. He was actually with On 3 and them for a while before he went independent, but he's got something like I know we broke 100,000 subscribers when we were on live the other day. But from when Nick Saban retired, like that happened on Wednesday, I instantly hopped on a live with him after I did something for Bleacher Report. And then Thursday, I streamed like 10 hours with Kyle. Friday, we did 8 hours. The Saturday after Saban retired, it was my wife's dad's birthday, so we went to Dallas and did something then. But then all last week, like I've been on a regular rotation. So like every 2 hours, I'm on with Kyle Henderson over there. So videos are coming out on my channel, and then the lives have been over there. But it's been nonstop.
Well, hey, you
Yeah.
know what? I'm glad that we had a public announcement because there's a lot of people in these comments, a lot of people on our respective channels that have been saying check on Ty because not it's been
No,
people in
no, I
Discord
needed it,
service,
100%.
people in Discord service saying, "Can y'all check on Ty, Chris?
Oh man.
Hey, can y'all check on Ty? What's
Yeah,
wrong
no,
with
I
Ty? Have
appreciate
we ever
that.
heard from Ty? Where is Ty at?"
No,
Uh,
I almost moved to Siberia.
Hey man, this is gonna be good. Look, I think Kalen's hired a great coaching staff too. It's not a bunch of well known names, but these are really good coaches. Um, and that's another thing I think people are gonna have to get over too is, we're used to seeing when Nick Saban wants to go get like an assistant coach, offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator. He has who's who that he wants to pick from. He's like, I want to pluck you. Come on over here, right? And so now you're starting to see. I think it's going to be. Bama fans are going to see some grassroots guys that are coming up and coaching that are going to be really good coaching that you don't know the name yet. That's not a household name, but these guys are going to potentially be household names.
I love
So
that.
yeah.
What are you laughing so damn hard at?
I know. What are you laughing at, Chris?
I mean, it's these two guys.
What? Huh?
James Thrice said Ty went on a darkness retreat, found the darkness, and now the people Ty. And go to the next one. Go to the
Who,
next one.
Brian?
Yeah, he said, want to know the difference? Look at the fan base. Michigan fans expect to decline. Alabama fans at the liquor store and will need support groups. Just remember to start with, hi, my name is Ty.
Brian's been on a roll tonight, man. I've had to avoid looking at some of the comments he's made because I'll just lose focus and start laughing. He's
It's
been
so
on a roll.
hilarious. Oh man.
Yeah, man. Ty, people, hey, my uncle said, hey, man. He said, did you say Ty live in Gainesville? I was driving down there the other day, saw somebody on top of that Super 8 over there.
That was me. That was me, actually. No, that was me. That was me. And then I got word that Ryan Williams was going to commit, so I walked on down and thought,
So
I'll
he's
give
been
this
happy.
whole life thing a second
He's been
chance.
happy ever since. Oh, Jipper.
I went from that Kermit, the gif of Kermit when he's standing on top of the building and then just jumps off the building. I went from that to the gif of Kermit whenever he's tying his arm off and like injecting it into. No, listen, but that's the fun of college football, right? Like, and I think we've had this conversation on this channel before where I said like I'm complacent, or not complacent's a bad word, but I'm happy. As an Alabama fan, I realize what I got to witness and how that's not the rule, that's the exception. And so I have no expectation that that exception is going to be replicated, right?
Yeah.
I'm excited about the hire. I'm really excited about the offense. I'm excited about the new coaches. But I think that if all Alabama fans operate right there, it'd be a great time. But it's fans, But for me personally, I'm hurt. There's no two ways around it. The GOAT doesn't retire, and you just say, "Oh, I'm doing great." But all things considered, I am excited, man. Change is inevitable, but change is not terrible.
Yeah. Just don't be that damn Buffalo fan who was crying his ass off at the game when the Chiefs came back
Well,
and won
see,
that damn
this
game.
is the good thing is I can turn the camera off when I start crying.
You talking about
right?
Jets?
Man, no, get off Jets, man.
Oh no, get off! No, don't do that to my guy.
James had a rough month, man.
He's had a
Have
rough
y'all
week.
seen?
He's had
Have
a
y'all
real
seen
rough
the
month.
trolling I've been doing of him on Twitter?
Man, get
where
off
it's-
James. First, Saban retires, and then this happens to Buffalo. You leave that man alone,
Well, no,
man.
first Bama loses to Michigan
Yeah.
when they have 32 botched snaps in a game
Yeah.
and lose by 7 points. Then Saban retires. Then there's an exodus, and then Buffalo loses. You thought I was having a bad month.
Yeah, when Buffalo lost the way they did, I know Jance is he's probably like got the knife by the wrist right now.
I
Let me
haven't
go call
gotten to talk
Jance,
to
man.
him.
Let me text Jance, bro.
I haven't gotten to talk to my
Let
guy.
me check to see if this man if he has insanity still.
I've sent him stuff in chats. I've sent him stuff on Twitter. This is hilarious.
Leave him alone.
Leave Jance alone, man. That's messed up.
Leave Brittany alone. Sorry.
That's messed up. All right, man. Look, man, we got an hour and 20 minutes in, man. Let's get up out of here, man.
Hey man, put Boomer in the chat, man. If you
Hell
enjoy
no.
what you like, you know what I'm
Damn,
saying?
Boomer.
Hey, look, horns down. You know what I'm saying?
No, horns always up. Horns always up, damn it. That's how we do it.
Touchdown, Texas.
There we go. You hear that? Touchdown, Texas.
I did hear that this year.